ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. The stars are in the sky, butts are in the seats, popcorn is popping. It's time for the Nerd for No Reason End of Year Spectacular. Welcome to the Nerdies! I am one of your fantastic hosts, Mark.
And I'll be your co-host, Raven. What if I just talked like that?
I know, right?
Just the whole time. I feel like they always pick people, especially like when women do these shows, that they're always like, yes, and our next person that is up for the award. Like they're always like quiet and very posh.
Yes. Just once I want like Aquafina to come out there and like all of her Aquafina-ness and be like, what up, everybody? I'm Nora from the Bronx.
I love that woman. She's crazy. It'd be a good time.
So Raven, what's been going on this week?
Lots of grooming dogs getting ready for Santa.
Yeah. I keep forgetting that like Christmas is 3 days away as we are recording this.
Yeah. It's coming. It's been coming up way too soon, and now that it's coming here, I'm like, I'm over it. Let's get rid of it. I am very bah humbug currently. Not even gonna lie to you, man. I just want to sleep all day on Christmas, to be honest.
Yeah, but aren't you going down to Georgia?
On Christmas? No. Chris has to work.
Oh.
We're just gonna be vibing and hanging out at the house.
That's what's up.
It's gonna be a nice little day. Just a little relaxing. That sucks that he has to work,
but yeah.
Yeah, that's part of the Regal biz. But at least he gets to work from home. Wait, redact that. Anyways, he'll be working from a nice location where we can hang out.
All right.
Technically, they're not supposed, like, corporate is not supposed to know.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like
it's a good thing we don't know what corporation Chris works for.
Yeah, I didn't just say it. For AMC. Ew. Mark, how's your week been? You know?
It's been pretty good. I've started my vacation for up until after the first of the year, so that's nice. I got about 3 weeks off, and
ooh,
I've been kind of busy, and it's been crazy. I think I'm going to be super busy for the next couple of days, and then once Christmas hits, I am just going to do absolutely nothing for about 3 days.
Just be a nice little slug under a rug.
I'm going to try.
Man.
I'm going to try. Honestly, I'm just trying to like kind of get the house ready for Christmas Day, and that's just a lot of just sweeping and dusting and just doing all this stuff. It's kind of just stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, your brother's been doing that because he's off this week. So it's nice that I'm like, oh, I don't have to clean this weekend? Wonderful, because we're getting ready for your father to come next weekend.
Oh, yeah.
For the new year. It'll be fun. We're excited.
Yeah, I think he's excited too. I'm pretty sure you guys are going to show him a good time. Y'all usually do.
Oh, yeah. We've got some cool places in Knox to show.
Take him to the dog bar.
The dog bar? Okay.
The place isn't that where you took where you had Boo's birthday party, where it's just like a bar that with like a kind of an open area where the dogs can just play.
Oh yeah.
And y'all can just hang out and drink.
There is that place, but we're actually going to take them to a nice little. We have a cheese store here, and they recently opened up like a little wine lounge that they have, and then they have like cheese pairing and tastings, and it's so nice. Yeah, we're excited for them to come. We've got a lot of cool little places that we're thinking about taking them, and we just hope that they enjoy their whole time that they're here.
I'm sure they will.
Oh, yeah.
If not, just bop him upside the head. I don't know. Pops has done let his hair grow out. I don't even know who that man is anymore.
Hey, man.
Every time I see him, he's got long hair. I'm just like, boy, retirement done got to you.
Oof.
No.
Man.
All right. Well, I am excited because this is our end of the year show. We did a proto version of this last year, but we had only had probably like 6 weeks worth of shows to actually talk about, but this year I feel like we can do a proper end of year, at least from a podcast perspective, of the movies that we have watched this year. And all in all, we have watched a total of 41 movies and 1 TV series.
Whoa.
So, excuse me, that is incorrect. I said that wrong. 43 movies and 1 TV series. Did I say? Yeah. So yeah, it's been, I don't know. It's, I say this all the time. It's genuinely my favorite part of the week. Coming on here and talking about movies and just having a good time, with one of my friends and just saying, hey, what'd you think of this movie? Because I feel like I have turned you on to a lot of different movies this year.
You definitely have expanded the horizon, and I know that next year you're going to start it off with a bang.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, it's you've definitely shown me a lot of different things that I would never pick out, and it's been interesting because some of it's been pretty good, and then some of it I'm just like, all right, this makes me understand Mark a little bit. Okay.
And to be fair, you've turned me on to movies too that I would not have necessarily seeked out. And we'll touch on it a little bit, but yeah, there's been all kind, like, to say that we have a particular genre of movie that we enjoy or that we focus on in this podcast is not true, because we are all over the place. Just looking at this list of stuff that we've done, it is everything from anime to independent movies to popcorn action-packed movies to mysteries to, horror, and just everything. Like, we are just all over the place. And yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I think the only thing that we probably didn't do was like a documentary. I think that's but everything else in between that.
right. I don't think we did a Western. I'm looking through the list. I don't think we did a Western.
No, definitely didn't.
We might have to rectify that next year for sure, because there's a couple of them that I think would be fun to watch.
That could be fun. That could be fun.
So, and I got a couple documentaries that I would love for you to watch.
Oh, Lord.
So.
All right. We'll bring it on next year.
All right. Well, let's get in. Let's start the award show proper. Cue the music. Here we go. Let's start off. Let's not get in. Let's not start with the big guns yet. Let's start off with I think probably what the kind of spirit of this podcast is what was our biggest surprise hit that we watched, that we kind of went in blind. Biggest surprise hit of the year. A movie that we didn't really know what to expect, or it was our first time watching it, and we both came out at the other end was like, yo, this is fantastic.
Are you asking me to go first?
Yes, please.
We've watched quite a few different movies, and I guess I had a lot of expectations for, at least, you get a little bit of a grasp of, this is what I think we're going to watch. And then typically it comes true. Otherwise it's like, this is a little better, a little worse than you thought it was. But the movie that we watched from Netflix, Nimona, Was it on Netflix? I think that's where
Yes.
it was. That was really good, and I had no idea about anything about it. And I honestly thought it was just wonderful. Like, the animation, the characters, the whole little theme of it. I thought it was just a good movie. And I would definitely recommend it to quite a few people.
I absolutely agree with you. This was a fantastic movie. This was so much fun to watch. As an animation nerd and knowing literally nothing about this movie, going in it completely blind, this was such a super fun movie. I think only second to this, another movie that I went in completely blind, not knowing literally nothing about, was probably The Menu. I think this was your choice because you had seen it before.
Yeah.
And this movie, I didn't know what to expect. I knew obviously that it had something to do with cooking, and things got a little tense, and I just didn't know. And I came out of the other end was like, this movie is a masterclass in acting, and it is so much fun to watch. Ralph Fiennes is just a
Chef
wonderful
kiss.
actor. Yes, no pun intended. A chef's kiss of a performance. Yes, and I love John Leguizamo in just about anything he does. So, yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. That movie was so good. I could watch it again.
All right, let's see. What about movies that we watched that didn't come out this year? I mean, I know that's kind of a lot of our movies because we don't really kind of what's the word I'm looking for?
We are not in just a single year. We are in the 80s, the 90s, early 2000s. We've got a lot.
Yeah, we are all over the place for sure. I think for me, like, I guess like the rewatchability, we can call this one the rewatchable award. I think, man, like, this one's kind of tough because we really watched some movies that came out in the 80s and 90s, like you said, but Labyrinth to me is one of those movies that anytime someone's like, oh, what about Labyrinth? And I'm like, yes, absolutely, Labyrinth. It was so much fun coming back and watching this movie again, and I'm fascinated by all of the practical effects, and to think that there was just hundreds of puppeteers on a set along with David Bowie and his bulge, and just a wonderful time to be had by all. What about you?
I'm trying to think of which one that I think is best, because we watched so many that I just absolutely love. Like, we watched Beetlejuice and Howl's Moving Castle, Scream. Like, all of those three are within, like, my top favorites. So it's just, it's so hard for me to just try and pinpoint one of those. But I think I'm going to go with Beetlejuice. I think Beetlejuice was probably one of my favorites to watch. I love being able to talk about it because it's kind of a big part of, like, how I grew up and stuff, just because I love that movie so much. Like, the stupid, corny bits. I love the weird little dance montage. I can't hear that song without ever thinking about a bunch of shrimps just, like, clawing someone's face. I've had the same little Loungefly backpack for like 3 or 4 years now, and it's a Beetlejuice bag, and it has wings, and people constantly are like, oh my god, I love your Beetlejuice bag. And I'm like, that's right, you do, because it's such a good movie. But yeah, I think Beetlejuice was definitely my top of things that just hadn't come out this year, and I was just excited to watch.
Awesome. That is a fantastic movie. Again, all of these movies I just enjoyed just going back and experiencing again, because for a lot of these movies, they're not in my regular rotation. So yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with Beetlejuice as a fun movie that we get to revisit. All right, now one of my absolute favorite awards for this year. I have dubbed this one the Clowny for excellence in Juggalo cinema. Whoop whoop. Ladies and gentlemen, none other than Big Money Hustlers. Show you right. That's right. Whoop whoop. Juggalos, Big Money Hustlers, ICP, Twisted, cult classic. You know how I feel about it.
Faygo out for the homies.
That's right. I'm slinging Faygo everywhere. It's going to be great. We're going to have a party. I'm flying to Detroit tonight.
That's definitely a movie I don't think I would have ever considered watching, to be straight honest with you. I obviously know about the Juggalos, but it's never been like anything that I would technically be interested in. Like, it's more of just me being like, I don't know what this is. It's a little crazy, and I'm glad that people like this, but I don't know if I want to be in this part. But it was definitely a good laugh to watch. Crazy people, crazy experiences. Chris came in at some part and was just like, "What are you watching?" And I was like, "Mark." And he was like, "Okay, sounds right."
Yep, that tracks. Real quick, funny story. I'm giving everyone a peek behind the curtain here. Is that for many, many times, we don't know what our next movie is going to be. So by Wednesday, we're scrambling going, what's our movie going to be? I don't know. And
True.
I cannot remember how I stumbled sideways back into this movie. It was thanks to TikTok of some sort. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. They have a movie called Big Money Hustlers and I went and looked where to find it, and it's available on YouTube and probably the best quality you're going to get. So I was like, this is going to be fun. And I showed a couple clips to some guys at work, and they were like, this, just shut up. We at work are going to watch it, and we'll come in and we'll talk about it at work. I'm like, cool. Raven, watch this. We got to get on board with it. And I believe, Raven, you said the very first thing you said to me was like, I see where all of your sense of humor comes from.
100%. Dude, just watching it, I was like, okay. I don't even need an explanation at this point. And Chris was like, yeah, no, this makes sense.
Did Chris ever tell you the story about his Zelda character in Ocarina of Time?
Yes.
Okay.
He recently told me about that because wasn't it that he just found out
Right.
Not that long ago?
Right. So for the listener, the way back in 2000, I think it was, maybe even before that, 99, 2000, I gave Chris Ocarina of Time for the Nintendo 64, and on that, I named a character Two Dope, after Shaggy Two Dope. And for probably 20 years, he didn't know that character was named after Shaggy Two Dope from the Insane Clown Posse. And it was not until very recently, probably within the past year, maybe two, where it all clicked in his brain, and he was he had big feelings, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. He really did. He was like, I can't believe this, but this is what do I expect at this point? And I was like, I don't know, man.
All right, moving on. Our next award is called the Snooty McTooty Award for Independence, for that independent movie that is just independent.
Oh.
Yeah, so Raven, I'll let you go ahead and lead off on this one.
I believe that I'm gonna have to go with what I feel is probably the most independent style movie that we watched, which would be Dave Made a Maze. Dave Made a Maze was something. I don't even know how to really explain this movie. It was a bunch of chaos, but it was so well put together. And just every action and scene and weird little puppetry and all the crazy stuff going on. They had to put their heart, soul, they definitely put blood into it.
No, it was just red confetti.
Hey. Lots of heads were rolling, but I think it was worth it. What
I will say that
Oh.
Dave Made a Maze is for sure like the standout independent film that we watched this year. Like you said, it was so cleverly, it was just such a very cool premise and so unique in its execution that I don't think we've seen anything like it. The closest thing that we could even liken it to when we were talking about it was Labyrinth. And you can kind of feel that kind of same style or feeling, if you will, but it was so wholly unique in just its execution and everything else. And it was just so super clever, even though we did kind of have different feelings about it. I still think, even in retrospect, that it is the gem of our independent movies that we watched this year. It was such a fun watch, especially when put up against, as much as I love the original Ninja Turtles movie, and yes, that is an independent movie by its very definition. It's something new and fresh and leaps and bounds better than the French Dispatch, which I gotta say, that movie just seemed way too pretentious for its own good. But Dave Made a Maze was just super fun to watch, and I really hope in the future that the people that made that movie make another one. Can't wait to see what they make.
I'll be ready.
All right, next. We watched a lot of comic book movies. I wish I would have taken the foresight to be like, oh yes, we watched this mini number. But this next one, the best comic book movie that isn't Spider-Verse related.
What?
Yeah, we watched a lot of them. Blade, Flash Gordon, The Batman. I think maybe one other. I'm not real sure. I'm looking at the list as I'm scrolling through. Raven, what you got?
Well, for me, it was definitely the Batman, because, you know me, classic Twilight girly, I love Robert Pattinson. And so to see him in a role that was so different and just, I don't even know how to describe the level of excellence that I felt that he did in this role. I love this moody movie where Batman's just like that dude that lives in his parents' basement, and he's just like, whatever, I'm just gonna go tinker with some stuff downstairs. And then Alfred's like his dad and's like, what do you got going on? I don't know.
God, Mom, leave me alone.
Oh, get out of my room. Leave my bats alone. Dude, I really enjoyed the Batman. I thought it was a really good, well-executed movie. What about you? What did you think deserves the award?
Man, this is a very close toss up between Blade and the Batman. I love the first Blade movie. It is one of my favorite movies of all time. I guess I got a thing for vampire movies. But man, I got to give it to the Batman just barely. But saying that, I also don't want to take anything away from Blade, because Blade with Wesley Snipes is the absolute perfect cast. I like this movie a lot because they're, relatively speaking, by today's standards, there wasn't a lot of CGI. There wasn't a lot of, even though there was big action set pieces and a lot of action, there wasn't a lot of just crazy, bombastic, over-the-top CGI. It felt like it was more grounded, which is weird to say about a vampire movie, but the acting was great. Everything was great. But the Batman is really kind of seemed almost like it could take place in a real world, and it was just such a fun watch and almost kind of creepy and spooky. Like it was right on that edge of being a horror movie. But, you know, we never quite crossed that edge, I guess because there was no blood. But still, yeah, the Batman, Rob Pattinson, and Zoe Kravitz was just phenomenal.
We love to see it.
All right, next, the Otaku for the best anime that we watched this year. Boy, did we watch some anime. I didn't even realize we watched as much anime as we did until I started like looking through the list, man. We love us some Miyazaki. We love us some anime.
Oh, man, we sure do love that, man. And I'm pretty sure I picked all the Miyazaki movies that we watched.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Because I think at one point I also tried to get you to watch Ponyo, and you're like, So we ended up with one of the others that I picked.
Yeah. So, let's see. Spirited Away, Belle, House Moving Castle. I thought there was one more, and I might be wrong. I might be confusing that with something I watched off podcast. Yeah, I must be. But even though I'm going to have to give this to like Howl's Moving Castle because I do enjoy that movie so much, I do want to give Belle its flowers because not only did that soundtrack absolutely slap, I still like I downloaded songs from that movie and still listen to them. I love that movie so much, the soundtrack especially. The artwork is fantastic. I feel like it's a great modern take on Beauty and the Beast, and it's just, if you get the chance, go see it, because even nothing else, the music and just the visuals are spectacular. But Howl's Moving Castle is an absolute classic of a movie. There's really not much more I can say besides that. It's just, it seems like everything worked in perfection in Howl's Moving Castle. The animation just is top tier. The voice acting was great. I cannot wait to go see The Boy and the Heron. I might do that next week.
I agree with you. I would also like to see that movie, and I'm hoping that maybe Chris and I can during this little holiday weekend. I'm also going to agree with you on Howl's Moving Castle. It's kind of a movie that when I very first moved to Knoxville, I didn't have any internet. And so all I had was like my TV and my Blu-ray player, and I had like a few different movies. And I think I watched Howl's Moving Castle within the like 2 or 3 weeks before Chris was able to move in and get our internet set up. Like, I watched it at least once a week, maybe twice a week. I love Howl's Moving Castle. It's so whimsical. It's so beautiful. I love Howl. He's He's just a wonderful, amazing human Birdman, and his love for this old woman that at some point he's just like, hey, let's get together and let's add all these random people in here. It's a little crazy. Let's make this house a little bit bigger. Kaboom! It's just beautiful. I love that movie so much. I think Miyazaki did some really good work with it.
He's a legend for a reason. No.
That's the truth.
All right, moving on. Oh man, let's see. Okay, the next one. I want to do this because we did actually have some movies that that they're represented, if you will. So this next one is the best Pride movie, because I don't really know how else to describe that, but we're going to give some people their flowers. We talked about a couple movies that, while may not have been overtly gay or prideful or whatever, they were definitely meant to be that way as part of a representation thing, and I ain't mad at them. Most notably, Nimona, which we talked about before, I feel was kind of just a wonderful piece of art that had wonderful representation, where it wasn't played for laughs. It wasn't played for it's kind of like oh hey, look at how cool and inclusive we are. It was just relationships, and it was just, everything was treated as quote unquote normal as it could be, and it was just a wonderful piece of art and representation and all of that stuff.
You know, I see your little list that you have on here, but I think you're missing one.
Which one am I missing?
Technically, if you are into the world that I am in, because I do have a few trans friends, a lot of them really resonated with the latest Spider-Verse movie. And
Yeah.
I really like that one. I think that it was beautiful, because when you realize a lot of the themes that go on with it, it's just something that kind of like warms your heart. Because, like I said, I do have friends that identify as a lot of different things that most people either see them as or don't see them as, and it's just one of those things that, you know, it is what it is. And so when they see movies of representation that make them feel, you know, seen within the world, whether or not other people realize it or not, it's just nice. But I do agree, Nimona was also a nice little movie that did its own little thing and was able to represent as well.
Word. I didn't know that that Spider-Man resonated that well in the trans community.
It absolutely did, because of Gwen Stacy. She was definitely like a big part of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Word.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. The best animated movie that isn't Spider-Verse related. I feel like we have to exclude Spider-Verse from a lot of these big categories because,
I mean, it's fair.
if we did, nothing else would really stand a chance. You know what? I'll let you go ahead and take the lead on this one because we love us some animated movies in this podcast for sure.
We absolutely do. Is this the list that's all there? That's crazy. I feel like we had even more than that. But I guess, like, we did watch some movies that technically would usually be animated, like the Pokemon movie or Shrek, the musical.
Right.
But, you know, Super Mario was really good. I definitely respect it more than I thought I would. Because initially I was like,
Yeah, that
I
kind of
don't
goes
know.
back to the biggest kind of surprise hit of the year, because when last year when they announced, the cast and who all was going to do it, it was so wild because everyone was so pissed off that Chris Pratt was going to be Mario,
man.
and he did fine. I mean, everyone was just so furious, like, oh my God, he's going to be so horrible. And he was fine. Nothing is going to be as good as Jack Black as Bowser.
Man. Ooh.
But I don't know if that puts it up there as far as like the best animated thing that we watched this year. Go ahead, Raven. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're all good. It's totally acceptable. I know I already touched on Howl's Moving Castle. I think it is absolutely beautiful in a lot of different ways, but there's another movie that I think might just beat it out. Belle was just, it had a lot going on for it. And I think that it's probably what I think would be the best animated of all the movies that we've watched, not including the Spider-Verse movie. But it's whimsical, it's magical, it's got a lot of different things going for it. And yeah, that's what I'm going to choose.
Okay. I think I'm going to go with The Lion King. Mainly because we went through this whole animation elimination tournament for Disney movies that we posted online and at work and all of these other different places to kind of get a community census of what was the best Disney animated movie. And thus, because we separated them into a couple different brackets, what was the overall the best animated movie. And I remember when we watched The Lion King, even though I've seen this movie a ton of times, I hadn't watched it in many, many years. I remember watching this movie and still to this day just being in awe that this movie was hand-drawn. Yes, there are computer elements to it, but for the most part, this is a hand-drawn movie where all of the beats still hit. There's nothing that has aged out or whatever. It was just a masterclass in animation, and I enjoyed watching it. And I've already said all the wonderful things that I love about Belle. It is a great movie. So yeah, I agree with you there too. All right, next. The best TV series that we reviewed this year. There can be only one.
Can there?
This is actually a result of me completely misinterpreting Raven's intent of what she said.
Hey man, I mean, it is what it is. It's one of those things.
Yeah, so Raven came to me one day and said, you know what? We should do a series. And I said, yes. You know what? Halloween's coming up. Let's do Wednesday. And you were like, okay. And then what she really meant was we should do a film series like Twilight or Fast and Furious or something like that. And yes, it just for some reason never stopped me.
No, of course not. I'm going to let you do your little thing. But honestly, I'm glad that you did say to watch it, because I had definitely told myself I wasn't going to watch it. I had been excited for it, and then it got some backlash. It got some good, it got some bad, and that's media. That's how a lot of things work. But honestly, Jenna Ortega, I love her. She's such a great little actress. She just was a wonderful Wednesday, to be quite honest. I love her, like, dry. She was so cut and dry, and I loved it. Because honestly, a lot of the time, that's kind of like my style of humor, so I was just like, nice. I love this. She's good Wednesday.
Yeah, that was for sure a fun series. I remember the first time I watched it last year, which I remember us talking about it last year, and we were both flabbergasted that it came out right after Halloween last year. Like, what are you doing, Netflix? But my daughter was actually the one that put us onto it. Alice was very much like she'd watch an episode and then come out of her room and be like, "Oh my God, Dad, you're never gonna believe what's happening." And I was like, "Shut up, I'm about to watch it." And then I spent like a day and a half watching it. But yeah, wonderful show. I'm glad we watched it. All right, next, let's talk about the spooky, the scary, the
Spooky, scary skeletons?
Yes, those two. Somehow, I think maybe we watched more horror movies as far as like genre specific movies than we did just about anything.
I mean,
Everything from campy things in The Blob to kind of thrillers to just we were all over the place. But boy, we love us some horror movies.
horror movies are my number one favorite type of movie. It's something that when I very first started dating Chris, I was like, "Hey, look, I love me some horror." And he was like, "I hate horror because I don't like jump scares." And I was like, "That's so silly." And then I think one of the first movies we went to see was a horror movie because I was like, "We're not doing that. I'm not going to stop watching horror movies, and you're going to watch them with me because I'm not going to be one of those couples that's like, oh, you don't like that kind of movie? I guess we just won't watch them because I don't want to just sit there and watch it by myself." So yeah, now your brother likes to watch horror movies with me.
Awesome.
That being said, we did watch quite a few different ones. Because we had Ghostbusters, we had The Menu, we had Nope. I don't know if you consider Knives Out to be a horror, or is it just like a mystery?
Knives Out is more of a mystery. I don't think I'd go
Okay.
horror with that one.
That's fair. We had The Blob.
The Blob
Barbarian.
was super fun coming back to watch that one. The Blob was super fun. That was a great little kind of campy movie. I enjoyed that one. Honestly, for me, it was a legitimate toss-up between Barbarian and Scream. I think like Scream is still one of my absolute favorite horror movies of all time. And we kind of talked about this as, you know, when we were reviewing it about how great it actually is, about how clever it is to set up the next joke. But a lot of it does kind of depend on you having seen all these slasher flicks from the 80s, which we have. But when we watched Barbarian, that movie genuinely gave me the creeps that I have not had in a long time while watching a horror movie. It was legitimately scary, and I had such a good time watching that movie. Yeah, for me, horror movie, best one we watched has to be Barbarian.
I'm gonna agree with you. And like you, Scream is one of my favorite movies. It's a movie that I watch the whole series every year, at least once. But yeah, I liked watching Barbarian. I liked a new movie that was just, it was scary, but it was also, you know, I don't know if you've seen, I don't remember the person's name that makes these movies, but like Hereditary and Midsommar. Those movies stress me out. I will watch them and I will feel horrible after I watch them. This one, Barbarian, gave me a little bit of a similar vibe, but didn't make me want to crawl out of my skin in the same way.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that this was a nice movie to watch and get a nice little woo from without wanting to just shed my skin. Anything with Justin Long in it, I'll definitely watch it.
I mean, Justin Long has done turned into like this great indie horror actor. I mean, between Barbarian and Tusk, he's kind of just showing up in movies, and I'm not mad at him for it.
Love that. Man.
All right, so now we're going to bring in a very special guest. She's going to give us her pick for one of her favorite movies of the year. This is the Alice Pookie pick. You guys might remember a couple weeks ago we had my daughter Alice come in and talk. She's in the room right now. She ruined my bit because she has to talk, but I'm gonna keep on doing the bit. You may remember her when she came on here. My daughter Alice, when she came in here and did Shrek the Musical with us. But let me call her into the room. Hey Alice, get in here and talk about your Pookie pick. Oh look, she's here already. She sure is fast.
Whoa.
I know.
Is that the Flash?
Oh, we're going to talk about that one. All right, Alice. So, come on in here and tell everybody what your Pookie pick of the year is.
My Pookie pick of the year is Barbie. Whoop whoop. What?
Whoop, whoop.
What?
And what did you like about Barbie so much?
It was really fun. I like the music. I'm Just Ken. I'm just kidding.
All right, we don't need all that. We don't need all that. We're going to get sued. Okay.
God bless her.
Cool. High five. Thank you. Thank you. Alice, ladies and gentlemen, my daughter. I love her to death. Okay.
You've got to get
not
like
yet.
the studio audience clap.
Yeah, we'll get the
Thank
studio
you.
audience
Thank
clap.
you.
Yep.
Thank you. Where they're like, please stop. I only get this 30 seconds to talk.
All right. So yeah, Barbie. That was her pick. Which
She's a Barbie girl.
is not a bad pick. I feel like we're going to talk about Barbie a lot here in the next little bit, so I'm just going to hold off. Moving on, the Jack Black Acting Award of Excellence for Best Actor goes to
The one, the only.
Jack Black. Listen, if there was a year of Jack Black, this is it. Kung Fu Panda be damned. I think we've kind of came to this great hypothesis with Jack Black here on this podcast that he could literally be in about 90% of the movies we watched in some shape, form, or fashion, and for the most part not bring it down in any way. He could be one of the people sitting at the table in the menu. We pretty much made the decision that if there was anybody to replace David Bowie in Labyrinth, it would be Jack Black.
Dude, I'd watch that in a heartbeat.
Me and Alice were talking, how funny would it be if there was like some kind of lumberjack Ken played by Jack Black, and when they're singing I'm Just Ken, he comes out and does a guitar solo, because of course he would. It's Jack Black.
True. Absolutely true.
He would have fit right in with Dave Made a Maze. He would have been great in Flash Gordon.
He would have been so funny in Cocaine Bear. I could see him trying to fight a bear.
Cocaine Bear. We haven't even talked about that movie. But yes, you're absolutely right. He would have been great in Cocaine Bear. Him and O'Shea Jackson Jr., just a bumbling, comedic buddy comedy with a Cocaine Bear would have been probably Oscar nominated. Yeah, I said it. He could have been, Jack Black could have been in Bullet Train, and he would have fit right in.
Oh my
so
gosh.
much. Listen, backtracking again to biggest surprise hit of the year, Jack Black in Super Mario Bros. We've said it before. he walked in the booth and knew exactly what he wanted to do with this character, and it was great.
Absolutely. That man can just put on a show for himself. That's all he really needs. He's like, I'm going to get in this character. I don't care if anyone else here likes how I portray it. This is how I'm going to do it. And everyone's going to love it.
All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes. Yeah, buddy. All right, so let's talk about the worst movie that we watched this year, Raven. Because I don't think, very few movies did we watch where we were like, man, this is just not good. And out of the 5 stars that we did on Letterboxd, go follow us at Letterboxd Nerd for no reason, by the way. But we kept track of all the movies we did, and I put the scores in there kind of based on what I feel like we collectively thought about the movie. So these are like rough averages, and we have 3 movies that kind of came in at a 2.5. And I'm pretty sure that you're going to agree with me, but if you got another one, then you just let me know. But The French Dispatch, we kind of universally railed against. Because even you said, for someone who likes Wes Anderson movies, this was not a good Wes Anderson movie.
It was so rough to watch.
Probably not the one to get me started in Wes Anderson movies on.
Sorry.
All Dogs Go to Heaven, which was the winner or runner-up to the other half of the animation bracket. And we rallied against this movie because the main character is just such a dirtbag. And yeah. And then you weren't here for this one, Raven. I think you were sick this week. The Flash. We had special guest, Just Being Amos. Amos from the Just Being Amos podcast came on and talked to us with this, and we spent an hour and a half just roasting this movie. Oh man, boy, did we just give this movie a what for. So
I mean, yeah, to be quite honest, a 2.5 for all 3 of those movies is being very generous.
it is.
Let's be real. Because it's out of 5, my guy.
Yeah. So yeah, we're looking at like a 50%, I guess, if we scale it up to 100. But I don't know. I'll let you talk a little bit. I'll let you cook a little bit before I come in and just really roast these movies.
Oh, Lord. Yeah. The French Dispatch and All Dogs Go to Heaven were very hand in hand for me when it came to worst movie that we watched this year. Because at some point while we were watching The French Dispatch, I couldn't even stay focused on it, to be quite honest. I think I was on my phone for quite the majority of it. And I just look up because I was like listening, and I was just like, I don't even understand what's happening here. Which makes me really sad because, like you said, I am quite a fan of the director of this movie. So that's upsetting. Also, can we talk about the fact that All Dogs Go to Heaven was the runner-up for Best Movie? How? Who thinks that this
Nostalgia.
No, absolutely not. You people that voted for this movie should have went home and watched this movie and been like, why did we like this? Why did we let our kids watch this? The very first time that I ever watched this movie as a child, I was so sad because I didn't like the thought of my dog passing away. that I had this movie on VHS, and I was like, I'm not ever watching this again. I literally told my grandparents, I was like, bad movie. We don't need this anymore. And I think we gave it to my little brother and sister because I didn't even want it in my repertoire.
It is wild that an animated movie that is geared towards kids does start off with, a dog drowning.
A
And you're
freaking
like,
heavy
oh,
hitter.
Boy, we are starting dark.
I mean, I guess when you think about Finding Nemo, which is also such a classic,
Yeah, I guess so.
but it's at least got good in it. Whereas All Dogs Go to Heaven, that German Shepherd was
Right.
kind of a douche. Man. The Flash, like you said, I was not here to chat about it, but yeah, no. Yeah, there was so much that went on in this movie that could have been different. It had so much potential, especially considering how long they sat on this movie. Because it was just one of those things that they were like, are we going to put it out there? Are we not going to put it out there? Well, I guess we will. And then everyone said, no, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think the wildest thing about The Flash and the French Dispatch is that I can genuinely see the positives in them. And I'm not saying that is in like the French Dispatch. I get it. It wasn't for me, but I could see the kind of charm and stylistic things that he was going for and how some people could like it. Okay? So I could see how Raven, if you would have come back and been like, no, I love this movie. It was this great portrayal of, the war through this newspaper's eyes and all this, I would have got it. I would have not necessarily agreed with you, but I would have understood. And there were some very clever kind of camera tricks and things like that. The Flash, one of the first things that me and Amos talked about was that somewhere in this movie, if someone wants to take the time to re-edit this movie, there's a good Flash movie somewhere in there. There is absolutely a different editor who gets his hands on this movie and makes a really kind of good flick. With All Dogs Go to Heaven, this is going to have to be my pick for the worst one, because while the animation is very Don Bluth and all of that, the story just, it gives me just such not a good feeling watching this movie. And yeah, I kind of came away from this movie just kind of feeling bad about myself for watching this movie.
I agree.
Yeah. So we're going to have to come up with a name. I don't know. We might have to call this the All Dogs Go to Heaven Award now.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. Until next year, whenever we decide we're going to come
Just
up
throw it in the ground.
with right.
That can't. Yeah, no.
All right, let's talk about the main award, movie of the year. So I'm going to read off the top 10 movies, I think it is, that we rated 4.5 or higher. Yeah, so these are basically like what we consider probably the near perfect movies that we just really just had the best time watching this year. In no particular order, we've given a 4.5 to The Menu, Fight Club, Nimona, Spirited Away, the Wednesday series, and Barbie. The coveted 5-star movies this year are The Lion King, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and Scream. Now,
Man.
all of those were absolute bangers. But I think from the very beginning, it was only between two people, and that is Spider-Verse 2, Across the Spider-Verse, and Barbie for me. And this, we might have to actually break down and really talk about them to figure out which one gets on top. But Barbie for me was one of those movies that I didn't know what to expect when I walked in. And about 30 minutes in, Margot Robbie's crying because she's in the real world. And I am there with my daughters going, am I watching Margot Robbie win an Oscar right now? And I still feel that way. I still feel like Margot Robbie deserves an Oscar for Barbie of all the movies. She was great. I thought the script was clever. The only reason I think we gave it a 4.5 was because there were certain parts, i.e. the Will Ferrell, Mattel kind of real world parts, kind of seemed a bit disjointed, like they were kind of just shoehorned in there by some executive going, we need to have Mattel representation. And it was, it's a fantastic movie. We'll talk about the Golden Globes after the first of the year, but Barbie kind of came out on top of the Golden Globes nominations. And Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, somehow, inexplicably, was better than the first movie. It's so wild to me that you can take a movie that is damn near perfect and make something better than it. With established characters and bringing new characters, and everything feels like it has its own place and time, and nothing feels necessarily rushed. And if I have one complaint about Spider-Verse is that the story didn't finish and we have to wait for the next movie. Raven, go ahead.
I'm going to agree with you. On Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, I think that that's going to be my top pick of the year. It, just like you said, it was beautiful. I love all the contrast of different medias and stuff that they throw into it. It's so fun. There's so much original stuff that you don't really see in media these days get thrown into it. It's got some good comedy bits in it, but it's also got a lot of really heartfelt moments and things like that. Across the Spider-Verse is just, it's top tier. And I think it belongs there. I hope that the Golden Globes gives it everything it deserves this year.
I think so. And I think kind of like the one thing that I did mention when we were talking about it was that the most fascinating thing to me, or the most kind of special thing, is that as I was going through and I was working on some kind of the extra stuff podcast wise for social medias and stuff, and I was pulling screen grabs and stuff. As I was doing that, I realized that you could pause this movie anywhere and it looks like a painting or a literal work of art. Every scene, almost every frame is a literal work of art, and it was fascinating that they were able to incorporate so much stuff into a movie and make it look this pretty, along with a fantastic story that you care about, that isn't just pretty. I think it's going to be Across the Spider-Verse for me too, and it is very well deserved.
The crowd is cheering.
Yeah.
They're crap. I almost said they're crapping. Uh,
I
Standing
hope not.
ovation all around. No one is crapping. I promise.
They were crapping when all dogs went to heaven.
That's where those dogs belong. Yeah, no, absolutely. But I do agree with you that I really hope Margot Robbie just gets as many awards for her beautiful role as Barbie as she possibly can.
Yeah. Well, as we record this on December 22nd, just a couple days ago, the Golden Globes Award or the Golden Globe nominations came out, and because our show is already action-packed, we'll talk about that in our next show, our first show of the year. We'll kind of break down some of that stuff because there are a lot of really cool entries in there, and they deserve our full-fledged attention for sure.
Faux show.
Faux show. All right. I want to talk about specifically some stuff that we may not have talked enough about on the show proper. We may have been like, oh yeah, hey, we went and did this thing or whatever. But Raven, let's talk about some stuff that a movie or show or something that you saw this year that we did not really talk about on the show.
Yeah, so normally I would be super down to watch a lot of movies because, working at the theater, Chris works at the theater, we get the free tickets. Chris and I just felt so busy this year. So a lot of our time was spent watching more of like TV shows. We've had quite a few good new shows. Oh, mid-burp. That was gross. We've had quite a few new shows that have come out that have just absolutely killed it. And then there's also been like new seasons to shows that are also just as amazing as the previous seasons. But for me, the top 3 shows of this year was... Oh, there goes Boo. Can you hear him?
I did not.
Okay. I wasn't sure. Sorry. The top 3 shows for me of this year have been the One Piece live action. It's so fun to watch. I love all these people that are playing the characters, and they feel like they could have easily just popped out of the manga and just gone with it. They're wonderful, they're amazing, and I'm so excited for the next season. Another show that Chris and I were super excited for because we extremely love the maker and producer of this show was The Fall of the House of Usher. I don't know if you've watched that, Mark, but if you are into some good, like, suspenseful, also Edgar Allan Poe style, you should definitely watch this. There's so many good references. There's great actors and actresses that Chris and I just adore. And we couldn't stop talking about this show. Like we were telling everyone, hey, you guys watch this show yet? You guys watch it? Did you like it? Yeah? Okay. We haven't heard a single person that's watched it and been like, no, I wasn't really feeling it. It was great. And then the last show that Chris and I became absolutely obsessed with, we probably watched, I think there's 3 seasons, all 3 seasons, at least all the way through twice. Which is Tim Robinson's I Think You Need to Leave. It is so funny. There's so much stupid humor in it. It feels very like a very style that is millennial Gen Z type humor, but he just does it so well. And we watched it when we were on vacation with a bunch of our friends. Like, we put them all on it, and so since then, like, we quote it constantly. And if you haven't watched it and you just need a good laugh and you don't mind stupid humor, go watch it. It's on Netflix. It's great. But yeah. What about you, Mark?
Oh man, I guess one of my favorite things that I watched this year that we haven't really talked about on the podcast was the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie, Mutant Mayhem. I love the Ninja Turtles, and I'm always scared anytime that a new iteration comes out, because it's just like everyone kind of wants to put their own stamp on it. And while that can be good, sometimes Michael Bay gets a hold of it, and then we get weird looking turtles and weird shredders, and sometimes it just don't quite pan out. But this new one was such a great time, so much fun. Ice Cube, out of nowhere, as far as I'm concerned, did a great job as Superfly. It was the absolute best use of Annie Up by MOP in any movie, period. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem was an absolute blast. I've seen it a couple times now. It is. I will watch it again very soon. Another movie that I watched like this kind of came out of nowhere for me. I think it's a Netflix studio movie. It's called They Cloned Tyrone, starring John Boyega, Jamie Foxx, and I can't remember the actress's name right now, but it is kind of like this cross between Undercover Brother, Attack the Block, and just I don't even know how to pitch this movie to someone without saying just go watch it. It takes place in, I can't remember if it's Atlanta or Memphis, a southern big city. John Boyega plays this kind of dope boy who gets in trouble. He gets shot, and then the next day he's back in his house, and he's back on the grind. And they slowly kind of unravel this mystery of things that are going on in their town, and it is such a delight to watch. So much fun to watch. Jamie Foxx does a great job of balancing humor and seriousness in the movie, and it's fantastic. I say all of that to kind of go to the super far end of that spectrum into just complete absurdity and talk about Fast X, if you will. Was talking with my kid about this earlier today. A lot of people kind of shit on this movie, and I don't know why. We are 10 movies into this franchise. You should know exactly what you are getting when you go into a Fast and Furious movie now. And you should be expecting Jason Momoa doing exactly what he did. This movie was phenomenal. It was the dumbest thing I've ever seen, and I mean that in the absolute best way possible. There's a scene where Vin Diesel saves the Vatican by playing Rocket League, essentially. And my last pick that we kind of have not talked about much on the show, but you absolutely need to go check it out, is a show on Amazon Prime called Jury Duty, where they take this guy who is quote-unquote selected for jury duty, but literally everyone else around him, including Jason Marsden, I think is his name, Cyclops, the guy from Sonic the Hedgehog, that guy, everyone else except for the main guy are actors, and then just all this craziness happens. And it's kind of like the Joe Smo show, a few other reality shows where they take the unsuspecting real person and put him around a bunch of actors, and all the craziness happens. And it's great. And it's actually nominated for a Golden Globe if that needs to spur you on anymore. So, yeah, those are my picks for things you just need to check out that we have talked about on the show. Whew, that was a lot. Okay, so now, Raven, instead of doing what we usually do about this time, my favorite part of the week, now we're going to do my favorite part of the year. Raven, I want you to tell me what your favorite nerd moment of the year has been. What nerdy thing has made you happy in 2023?
Boy, oh boy. I really had to think about like things that have really happened this year because I feel like there's been so much that has come out, but then also at the same time, my brain doesn't even remember what I normally ate for breakfast, even though it's the exact same thing every single day.
I know. I have the same problem.
Dude, I feel like there's a few different things that I have really enjoyed. I know that I'm not one to typically talk a lot about video games, but there's one game that I like to play a lot with a lot of my friends. It's like one game that will just be like, oh, everyone's available, let's go play Phasmophobia. There was a nice little new update, and it's been really fun to try and get to do a bunch of the new things that they have for it. So if you're into a nice little spooky game that you can play around with friends, or you can even just join other random people, it's definitely something I would suggest getting into. I have also really enjoyed all of the One Piece live action memes. I mean, to be fair, I do get quite a few One Piece memes on my Twitter feed, and I love so many of them. They're all so funny. But just the way that things have just played out within this year and this new show with this lovely, adorable cast, there's just been some good ones, and I really enjoy them. I love a good meme. If you kids ever want to follow me on the Twitters, feel free to send me your best memes. But here's the biggest thing that has really genuinely made me feel so happy. It's Robert Pattinson making his comeback into the world of films. We had him in The Batman for last year. Wonderful. And now he's doing a crazy voice that no one would have expected for The Boy and the Heron. And I just love that for him. I love that he's trying to reinvent himself in a way that he's just like, yeah, sure, I was in Twilight. Was I the best actor in it? Because Raven did recently watch that. No. But he is a really good actor. I'm not going to lie and say that he's not. But yeah, that has made middle school Raven's heart happy. It's made me heart happy now because I love that man so much. Mark, what has been your favorite moment of the year? Nerd-wise.
Oh man, I very much like you have. It's hard to remember back and think of all the stuff that has happened this year because I have a hard time remembering too what I had for breakfast. But if there's one thing that definitively stuck out in my brain because I'm still investing time in it is Tears of the Kingdom. When it came out in May, I think it was May, I mainlined that game into my veins for about 6 weeks straight. And then I beat it and then continued to mainline it into my veins, even after I beat it, doing all types of post-game type stuff. And just recently, within the past, I don't know, probably month or so, I've picked it back up and started playing it again, and it is still super fun. Just run, like, I'm really taking my time now, just kind of running around and just doing stuff. And it is a game that I have not had this much fun playing since Breath of the Wild. Just, I can pick it up, play it for 5 minutes or 5 hours, and be perfectly content with any amount of time or any experience that I have in the game. It is great, and I genuinely am worried about the future of the Zelda franchise because I don't know where we can go from here without not using that same kind of format. And I have faith in them because just about every Zelda has been a banger. So, we're there. Another big highlight for this year was finally going to Dragon Con, albeit for just one day, but man, I feel like I've checked off a very important bucket list item by just going and experiencing the controlled, fun pandemonium that is Dragon Con. Such a good time. So much fun. I'm looking forward to going back next year and getting a hotel room so I can stay there and party the night away with just a bunch of nerds. Because, man, there's absolutely nothing like it. It's hard to even just describe until you've been there to say, oh, yeah, there's all this and that, and you know what it is, and then you go there and you're like, this is an assault on the senses in the very best way. So much fun. And real quick, recently, as in like yesterday, I paid my truck off. And boy, does that feel good. Literally the night before I paid my truck off, I had a dream that my engine blew up in my truck.
Oh.
So I woke up in a little bit of a panic, like, wait a second, my truck's fine. But yeah, no, I finally paid it off. I'm super happy. Now I get to use all this extra money I have to pay off more bills. So yeah, but we did it. And it's all great.
Nice. Very nice. Such a relief.
It is. So, Raven, I touched on this a little bit last week. Actually, I kind of did a big chunk on it last week, and I ain't even ashamed about it. I'll do it again. We are at the end of 2023. Raven, thank you so much for being my co-host, for doing this dumb podcast with me. Most importantly, thank you for being such a dear, dear friend, and thank you for dating my brother, because I know he can be a lot. He's just a big dork, and I'm glad you two found each other.
I do like that guy. He's not bad. But I also really like you, and I'm so glad that you and I get to do this together. We get to come on here and chit-chat the night away.
Yeah, we do.
It's a good time, and I do genuinely enjoy it. So thanks.
Good. All right. Well, let's wrap everything up. Raven, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on the internets?
Currently, I have been hyper fixating back on my Twitter account. That's like the only social media I was on for like 4 weeks straight, and all of my friends on Instagram were like, "Hey, where's all of our good memes?" And so I had to like switch back over to Instagram and be like, "Here, a little sprinkle for you." If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at spooky_Raven. But occasionally, I swing by the Instagram, and that's it. That's so Raven Ellis. You can find our lovely little Nerd for No Reason accounts at Nerd for No Reason. But if you try to look for us on TikTok, you will find absolutely nothing because we no longer exist there because we got blocked. We got the boot. We got banned
Permanently
for
banned.
whatever. We have no idea.
So I have done a little bit of digging, and I've done some searching on the internet to be like, oh hey, how common is it for your account to get banned over, what do they call it, integrity violations on TikTok? Apparently it's kind of common, and they just kind of just sweepingly will just ban accounts. And when you go to be like, hey, I didn't do nothing, why did you ban me? And they'll be like, hey, you violated the integrity part of the user agreement. And you're like, what did I do? And then they just never reply back. And you're like, okay, well, I guess I'm not on TikTok anymore, I guess. I don't know. So, yeah, that's kind of what happened to us. I got a notification, hey, someone shared your video. And I was like, cool, let me go check which one someone shared. And then it was like, hey, permaban. And yeah, that's where we're at. Hooray.
Sorry to whoever shared that video, but it no longer exists.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I guess we'll either be on the Twitters or Instagram pushing our videos. We still got the YouTube, so check us out there. I guess we're gonna just slowly migrate everything away from TikTok, at least for the time being, until we figure it out. So, yeah. But just keep looking for us, man. If you look for, and by the way, I searched TikTok to be like, hey, is there any trace of Nerd for No Reason? It's not like we had this huge following or anything like that. No, none of our stuff, like, it is not there anymore. It is gone.
Oof. Oh.
Yeah, I don't know what we did, but boy, we sure did it. So yeah,
Man.
But in the meantime, you can find me at Turtles Do It on Twitter, Instagram, and your boys on Blue Sky. So I'm pretty sure I'm at Turtles Do It on Blue Sky, because I'm cool and shit. Yeah. But yeah, thank you everybody who's listened to the show this year. Boy, it's been fun. I'm so happy you're here. I cannot wait for next year. We're going to have even more fun. And we got so many big plans.
Wild and crazy year.
Wild and crazy. I'm pretty sure we got the first 6 months already planned out.
Basically.
But yeah, we love y'all. Please go and do something wonderful in the world today, especially around all these holidays. Go give somebody a hug. Tell your family that you love them. Yeah.
You guys go ingest all the Christmas cookies. Leave none for Santa. You can also ingest some media too while you're at it. But we'll see you again next time on the Nerd for No Reason podcast. Ho, ho, ho.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.